Good evening. I believe that the resolution 1701 is still in the process of realization. Till this moment, it has not been implemented on the ground, or actually fully implemented on the ground. But it's in the process. It's in the process of implementation. And now this resolution is a need for Lebanon and for Israel as well. So Lebanon can make use of the 1701 as well as Israel can make use of it. Now the fights are happening on other borders, and what's happening in Syria is highly impacting Lebanon. Lebanon has got a real interest in spreading the Lebanese army on all its borders, including the borders with Israel and borders with Syria. Till this moment, the negotiations are going fine. And yes, Israel is violating the ceasefire, but I believe that the violations will be there even for the 50 days. But in the end, there will be stabilization of borders and a truce on this border, because the two countries, Israel and Lebanon, will be more focused on Syria.
Now, from your point of view, what are the challenges hindering the enforcement of the Resolution 1701 in southern Lebanon?
There is a huge number of changes happening, including the war that took place and its devastating impact on Lebanon and on Israel. There is a lot of devastation, destruction in Lebanon, and the same happened to the north of Israel. There has been destruction in northern parts of Israel and displacement as well. Of course, much less than Lebanon, but it was very apparent. This is the first part, and it is clear that both countries have got an interest to stop the war, and this happened starting with the ceasefire that was reached. Secondly, the war in Syria and the changes that are happening on the borders with Syria, we can say there is ambiguity about what kind of regime is still there in Syria and who will be controlling the borders and what will happen to Syria, and what about the Syrian borders with Golan Heights. This is also another issue. What about the Syrian borders with Lebanon, which are really vast borders, and we don't know what will happen for it and how things will be evolving around that issue. But what's certain so far, the Iranian corridor and the Lebanese-Iranian corridor has been cut from Syria, and as no supply of weapons to Hezbollah from Syria anymore. Because of this, Hezbollah would be weaker and weaker, and this will catalyze and help the implementation of 1701 and spreading the Lebanese army in the south and getting more calm in these areas.
Now, from your point of view, will the Lebanese parliament succeed with regard, of course, of the ongoing challenges that are occurring? Will the parliament succeed in electing a president by January? And what are the primary obstacles to electing a president in Lebanon in the meanwhile?
Till this moment, there are no indicators. Till this moment, there are no indicators, despite all what has been said and despite all the momentum and all the movement regionally and internationally. There is no president elected, and there might not be a president elected. And Lebanon is highly connected to all its border. Lebanon is highly connected to all its neighbors, and things, I think, will freeze in Lebanon, and we will wait till to see what happens in Syria. Talk about January 9 session is just talk. Even the internal dynamics did not come to any agreement or to any result. Everything is just in place. Nothing is happening in Lebanon. And the allies of the Syrian regime or the allies of Hezbollah, they are still stationed where they are, and there is the opposition also stationed in place. So far there hasn't been any agreement reached or no common ground between anybody and anybody. So maybe we can say that all elements would say there will be no election on January 9th. Even the American side and Mossad, Polos said, if you have waited for 2 years, wait for another 2 or 3 months. So even the Americans are not eager to elect a president on the 9th of January. So Lebanon will be in the refrigerator of wait till something settles in the region and some agreements happen in the region and some Arab and foreign elements get to something.
Now, returning back to the Lebanese territories, and is the current ceasefire agreement likely to be extended after 60 days? And what role are the international mediators playing in ensuring the ceasefire upheld?
It is certain that there will be an extension of the ceasefire. I personally believe that this ceasefire will be permanent. There will be no more war on the southern front of Lebanon. I can reiterate what I said before, but what is happening in Syria has cut supplies to Hezbollah from Syria. Hezbollah is much weakened military-wise, and today the supply chain to Hezbollah is cut. Therefore, Hezbollah is now having just an interest to continue towards coolness and towards freezing the situation and to de-escalate what is happening in Syria and what is happening in Gaza Strip and the continuity of resistance even in Gaza and the urgent need for getting to peace is still there. That's why Israel will not open another front in the north. This ceasefire will be permanent, and this ceasefire is a joint interest for Lebanon and Israel now. Especially as there is some international sponsorship of this ceasefire, and continuing with that ceasefire, war will not return to Lebanon, at least from the Israeli side. There will be no war between Lebanon and Israel.